secret agent of the universe. I feel a shift occurring between us with every letter I write and conversation we have. It happens so gently and incrementally that an unaware person would completely miss it. There are many that think it was a coincidence that we met, but there's no such thing as chance. Every single effect has a cause, which are governed by the laws of the universe of which we are a product. Therefore, us meeting was not by chance, but a direct result of a cause or a series of causes that can go as far back as our past lives. Everything that is happening now between us has a relationship to that which came before it. Like you said in your letter, we were destined to meet. But unlike you, I believe our story has just begun. And should destiny favor me, this story will continue into my future lives as well. But before I start down the road of explaining how yoga got me here, I feel it necessary to build the context in which this discipline exists, to deeply appreciate its magical powers. According to the laws of the universe, there's a constant motion on every level. Tides move in and out. The earth falls and rises around the sun. Seasons change, and so forth. Within us humans, our atoms, cells, neurons, etc., are constantly moving in a circular motion. It is why, when we see the symbolism of chakras, energy centers, it is circular. There are 7 main chakras in us humans, which in the next cast I will go a little more in depth into. But for now it is enough to know this. Chakras correspond to the places where there is a mass gathering of nerves, our information highway cable network, major organs and glands in the body. Each of the 7 chakras correlate with different abilities, expressions, and types of health. The degree at which each chakra is opened or closed gently influences our overall frequency. Because remember, we are merely vibrating energy. When we speak of vibration, we are speaking about the rate at which everything within us is moving, which in turn emits a frequency. The higher the rate of vibration, the higher the frequency signal we are emitting inwards and outwards. The Earth is one large electric circuit, which, by the way, we humans are short-circuiting in a big way by destroying our natural environment. Its electromagnetic field surrounds and protects all living things with a natural frequency pulsation of 7.83 Hz on average, which is also the frequency of Ohm. Interestingly, 7.83 Hz is also the human brainwave's average alpha frequency, when measured with an instrument I cannot pronounce, but sounds something like an electroencephalography. Forget it, can't pronounce it. Among the 5 main categories of brainwaves, alpha waves, which stand in the middle of the scale, induces relaxation but not quite meditation. Alpha waves are also the starting point from which we begin to tap into the wealth of creativity and connectivity that lies just below our conscious awareness. So when we tune our brainwaves to the planet's pulse, it is not only to induce health in us, just as tuning it out harms our health, but it also starts to connect us to the universal consciousness of which we are a part of and to creativity. So when I ask my students to Om with me in all my classes, on their own, in their meditations, as they walk down the street, it is not because I'm trying to entice them into a cult. It is because Oming lifts our brainwave vibration to 7.83 Hz, and it is why the M should be the longest part of the Om, as it creates a vibration in our brain area. One of the main researchers of this topic, Dr. Wolfgang Ludwig, discovered that while the Earth's vibration could be clearly measured in nature and in the ocean, it was almost impossible to measure it in the city, where man-made signals such as radios, TVs, cars, buildings, phones, and the like overrode natural signals. So when we meditate using apps, we can never retreat from our senses and move to awareness, which is the only way to truly connect to the knowledge that sits in the infinite space. Why? Because to use an app is not only to engage in our sense of hearing, it is also an electronic device that blocks out the vibration of nature, that aids us in shifting and moving our energy. In yoga, when we speak of aligning our chakras, lifting our vibration, we ask that you walk bare feet on the earth, swim in natural bodies of water, play in the sun under blue skies, sit in forests, immerse yourself in nature. As just the mere act of doing this starts to unblock your energy and elevate your health. Take the power of vibration a step further, and we see that within every one of us there is a pendulum of emotions that constantly swings back and forth from happy to sad, fear to courage, calm to anxiety. Just like the movement in nature that tides the earth, as I have mentioned above. Its motion is like our breathing, autonomous and beyond our control, but not beyond our influence. It is why we often are subjected to emotion that we cannot connect to anything specific, because it is driven by the laws of motion in the universe. Like everything else that is pulled by the universe, so are our emotions. Within each of these set of emotions, although opposite in our experience, each exist on the same plane. Let me put it a little simply. Think of a seesaw, one plank of wood with a seat on each side. In one seat is happiness, in the other sad. The only thing that separates the two is the degree, rate of vibration, as both exist on the same piece of wood. When we are vibrating faster, at a higher level, the seat carrying happiness will rise to the top of us, and vice versa. We all carry multitudes of seesaws within us, each carrying a set of emotions. You may be thinking here, if we can't stop the pendulum, then what's the point? Just like, if we live 1,000,000 miles away, why are you and I still engaging in this dance? I'll tell you why. Because the laws of the universe are creative, and when we understand them, we can use those same laws to overcome them. We can remove ourselves from the influence of the constant swing of the pendulum by mentally disengaging from our ego and living above the swing, and by keeping our vibration and our attention on high-frequency emotions. So those seats on the seesaws, the ones in which happiness, peace, courage, and so forth are seated, are always dominant in us, because where our attention goes, our energy follows. Now, allow me to add some science here. From a scientific viewpoint, what creates that swing in emotions is our hormones, our chemicals, and their influencers, which is the external environment coupled with our conditioned mind. But to understand this, we must understand the brain a little better. There are three main layers of our brain. The first is the brainstem, which sits at the core of our brain. On top of that, there's what I like to call our emotional limbic brain and switchboard center. And lastly, our outermost brain, of which the frontal cortex is a part of. That is our thinking analytical brain. The brainstem, also known as the mammalian brain, as we share it with all animals and is the oldest part of our brain, is our instinctual brain and the throne of our autonomous nervous system, ANS, the system we cannot control but can exert influence on. It is the part of the brain known as our survival brain. Its origins in humans goes back to a time when we needed to hunt, procreate, build shelter, etc. to survive, literally. Today, lack of education, awareness, access to tools on how to engage with our analytical brain, stress, have led many of us to live in this part of our brain, in our brainstem. Meaning, we act on instinct, not thought. We react without thought. We seek to survive and gain security through sex, accumulation of wealth, and food. We do this on a scale way beyond our basic survival needs, and with emotions of insecurity, greed, jealousy, and so forth. Because the benchmark and definition of survival and security has changed in modern-day society to something that is elusive, external to us, false, constantly shifting and never truly attainable. Because what so many of us are doing is trying to survive life, is not trying to survive life, but trying to survive death, which, let's be honest, is impossible. If I were to interact with you from my brainstem, then here's what I would be looking for in you. Do you have a job? How much do you make? Can you provide me with financial security? I would focus on your looks, your clothes, your passport, your material wealth, and if you want kids. I would look to you to make me happy, to satisfy me sexually and to be able to read my mind to satisfy my desires. In some cultures, your family tree would be investigated, your education, your caste, your class, with the aim of knowing if you can produce a healthy stock of kids, if you can provide security, and what sits in your bank account. But lucky for you, my frontal cortex, in partnership with my heart's energetic center, at some point I will explain the significance of the heart center in guiding our actions, seeks what lies beneath all that superficiality. Are you good, kind, honest, and compassionate? Do you act from a place of awareness and not from your ego? The autonomic nervous system, which sits in our brainstem, has two branches, the sympathetic and the parasympathetic. There is a third system, but that is for another day. Our sympathetic is our survival system, our fight or flight. When this kicks in, our analytical brain goes for a beer, our emotional brain goes nuts, and all our blood goes to our extremities. For example, our eyes dilate so we can focus on our attacker and reduce our peripheral vision to further enhance our focus. We crave sugar because our body wants the sugar for our muscles, thereby putting a halt to the absorption and processing of sugar by our cells. All the happy tiny fairies, as I imagine them, that work on our digestive, immune, regulatory systems stop working, pick up spears, and head for our extremities to prepare for war. But worst of all, our body starts to dump cortisol from our adrenal gland, which in the long term results in diabetes, digestive problems, memory loss, high blood pressure, weight gain, drop in our immune system, among a host of other ailments and diseases. When our body is under constant stress, it believes that it is at war, being chased by a shark, hunted by a bear, and all of the above takes place constantly. When this happens, our vibration lowers as our cells, organs are not getting enough oxygen, as our breath is shallow and rapid. Our systems are not working properly, as the fairies have gone to battle, and we get stuck in low frequency feelings of fear, anxiety, depression, anger, irritability, among other emotions. Please know that our sympathetic system is not bad all the time. There's an activation of this system when we take long inhales and have brief moments of good stress, where it is adrenaline and not cortisol that is being released in us to fuel creativity and positive energy. You can feel secure in the knowledge that when you are with me, I will only ever activate your healthy sympathetic system. Our parasympathetic system is our calm, healing system, the state in which everything works as it should, without us having to go to an opium den to induce relaxation and calmness. And our analytical brain can operate from a place of awareness. It is linked to our exhale, and when activated, it tells our body that there is no external threat, that all is safe and good, so that all our organs, glands, systems can work at 100% to heal, rejuvenate, and restore us. And we can truly and actually switch on and off our genes, specifically those linked to genetic diseases. We also sit in emotions then of peace, happiness, gratitude, bliss, and other elevated emotions. So let me tie this together for you as simply as possible. Our emotions are tied to the hormones and chemicals that are released in our body continually. Hormones and chemicals such as estrogen, testosterone, serotonin, oxytocin, all of which are essential to the functioning and development of our body's systems. The release of these hormones are deeply tied to our thoughts and the feelings and emotions we attach to them, as our thoughts affect the degree at which we are vibrating, which then affects the health and vibration of our organs and glands that release these hormones, which we can also refer to as chemicals. So if you are always thinking negative thoughts and sitting in anger, stress, and anxiety, your cells become sluggish and move and vibrate slowly, which then reduce the efficiency of all our glands, organs, and systems, which, as you now know, lead to the dumping of chemicals and hormones that sink us into low-frequency emotions such as depression and sadness. There is a reason that we are told repeatedly that our thoughts and our words hold power. Now add another layer to that, which is the energetic influence of the moon, the sun, other planets that pull, swing, and push our energy. Because sometimes we can be in a great place and can have days where we feel sad, down, or empty, and we don't understand why. It could be a cycle that is going through our body, such as our menstrual cycle, or it could be the moon when it is close to the Earth or another planet. I live beside an ocean, and I have seen what the moon does to it, how it lifts the waves and pulls them higher and further when the moon is full. We humans are 70% water, so it is no wonder the moon affects our energy. By understanding all of the above, you can start to begin to realize that the goal of yoga is not to erase sadness or any of those emotions, because remember, due to the laws of the universe and those of the body, that is impossible. They exist in us whether we like it or not. But to learn how to move through all those emotions in a healthy way when they rear their heads. To learn to live above the constant swing and flow of emotions that sweeps through our body by being aware of the influences of our emotions, the influencers of our emotions, and then either removing that influence or at the same time mastering the art of shifting our attention and energy to higher elevated emotions. Because media, movies, social media, and all the other influencers of our conditioned mind has taught us the opposite. It tells us when we are angry, shout, break something. When we are sad, wail and starve ourselves. When we are jealous, behave like a crazy person. When we are anxious, smoke a cigarette or have a drink. I think you get the drift. Instead of teaching us, when you are angry, go for a swim or a jog and release it in a healthy way, and then choose the path of forgiveness. When you are sad, eat healthy and go for a walk in nature or seek out a positive friend. When you are jealous, communicate instead of assume, and so forth. Said yet another way, if you constantly think negative thoughts and are sitting in stress, so your ANS is imbalanced because your sympathetic system is dominating, then the chances of you moving through low elevated emotions by rising to anger, drinking, eating badly, sinking into depression, and so forth will be pretty high. To view our body and its systems in isolation of the influence of energy that resonates through the universe, and by extension our thoughts that resonate through our body, is to do ourselves a great disservice. As once again we are teaching humans that they are a separate entity from that in which they exist. Because believe it when I tell you that trees, oceans, air, animals, planets, and the actual earth have a much larger pull and influence over us positively and negatively than we care to acknowledge. I have to go now, as once again the ocean and its birds calls out to me. Have you manifested and teleported your energy into large, powerful birds that visit me daily? Eagles, alcatrazes, tropical birds? Because it is incredible the animal life swooping through my life as my energy rises higher and higher. Love, the Enchanted Yogi.